All right, let's take our first look at the Fanduel pricing. Always fun to see how they misprice stuff every week. Somebody I guarantee is going to be 5,500 to 6,200 at wide receiver. I'm sure that is going to be mispriced. But Haynes King is properly priced. Looking at this Georgia Tech Duke game, a good game that you can game stack. It's a high likelihood to shoot out. 61.5 over under. 32 for Duke, 29.5 Georgia Tech. Still don't understand how Duke's favored over Georgia Tech. Feels like a trap from the books. I don't know. The line hadn't really moved much. So kind of weird on that one. Um, Haynes King at 12.5, not unreasonable pricing given his ability to run. Multiple touchdown upside on the ground. Very good floor. It's kind of hard not to want to play him at 12.5 given the profile. Uh, it's going to depend on the other quarterback pricing as to whether he's a core play or not, but he is going to be inevitably a raw projection monster in this spot. They priced him correctly by comparison to DK for sure. Darian Mensah, I probably stay away from at 9,600. With no 300-yard bonus on FanDuel, he will throw for multiple touchdowns. Issue is he has no rushing upside. He hasn't shown it, doesn't have it. I think we expect him to be in that 20-point range, but that's just not enough to get it done here for that price tag. Nate Shepard at 9,200. That's a less palatable price. We played him at 5,700 recently. That's a lot to pay up for him. He's an explosive player. I think he's going to be a very good player for many years. But at this point, paying 92 for him, I could get a lot more bell cows at this price tag. He's going to need a pop. Some very big runs, and this is not a defense by comparison that you expect those big runs against. Jamal Haynes has been absolutely struggling lately. He's still the guy. I think you can take shots at 8K here. He's going to be a guy that in tournaments you're going to maybe play a shot or two here and there on the back that he's really a capable guy to break off some long runs. Hosley has been playing a little bit more than I would like compared to Jamal Haynes. That's why I just end up preferring to just play Haynes King if I'm playing anybody from Georgia Tech. That's kind of been my modus operandi. Anderson Castle's been kind of annoying for Nate Shepard, but he's really going to he's not explosive whatsoever. He's going to need to fall into the end zone 3 times. Can't bet on that, so no reason to even bother with him. Cooper Barkate now priced up, finally, deservingly so. I would say he's in play, but I don't know that he has the ceiling that we'll be looking for. Quayshawn Brown, I do not mind one bit at 6,400. If you do end up playing some Mensa, you're going to need to play some of these wide receivers for Duke. They have one of the highest pass rate over expectation. That means that they throw the ball more than the average team. So it's kind of like there's an average of how much you should throw the ball based on the average of every team and based on down and distance. They have one of, if not the highest rates of pass rates in the country for the Blue Devils. Malik Rutherford, no shot. Eric Rivers, maybe you end up getting there. He is more of the deep play threat. He can have monster games. Rutherford just operates too close to the line of scrimmage. Canyon has some capability, just has not been utilized down here last couple weeks. I would prefer to play Rivers if I was going to play any Georgia Tech guy, but it's going to probably be none. I prefer Haynes King on his own because of what he does with his legs, and that's where most of his value comes from. But like I said, I don't mind. Actually, my preferred pairing for Haynes King is not even his own wide receivers. I'd pair him with a Duke wide receiver personally. I think that's the optimal way to play Haynes King. Another game that can shoot out and will have game stacks aplenty. 65.5 over under in this TCU Baylor game. That harkens me back to those fun Trayvon Boykin, Bryce Petty games. 34 for TCU, 31.5 Baylor. Also think that game's probably got the wrong team favored personally. 12K for Sawyer Robertson. Also in play. 11.8 for Josh Hoover. I like him less than Sawyer Robertson or Haynes King, but in game stacks, I think you got to have Hoover. Hoover's one of those guys that needs to be played stacked because his rushing capability is just not there. He does have a rushing touchdown here and there, but if you see like his best games he's gonna have to bring players with him, so you're gonna end up needing to stack Hoover guaranteed. Robertson has not flashed the rushing upside that he has yet. He's been bringing players with him, but he does have wheels. We've seen it in the past. He can pop off for 60 or 80 yards rushing. Just hasn't utilized those legs yet. I do think you can play him. You're going to have to stack him, but he needs one stack partner, where I think Hoover's going to need two to bring him along. If not, I mean, I think you're fine with one, but I don't love it. That is absolutely sickening that they have priced Kavorian Barnes over Bryson Washington. I'll tell you right now, Bryson Washington probably going to end up being a core play for me. He got banged up in this Kansas State game. That's why he missed. He got banged up in this Oklahoma State game. So he had a week off to recover. I think he'll be good to go now. We'll have to keep an eye on that, obviously. But at 8,200, that is ridiculous. This is a 10-5 player, period, end of story, all day, every day. So we're going to end up more than likely with, if all systems are a go, I would bet I end up with 60 to 80% Bryson Washington. What I have been trying to work through and do, I want to limit variables. So for me to win these types of tournaments, so like this one, for instance, let's look at it. So this one right here is 6,000 people, 150 max. I'm not 150 maxing this tournament. There's going to be a few people who will 150 max this tournament because they've got $3,000 to burn and to go after 20 grand. I'm not doing that. So if I'm playing this, I'm taking shots. Now, in order for me to take shots, if I'm not 150 maxing this thing, I need to limit my variables and have the best opportunity to hit the nuts. The best opportunity for me to hit the nuts is not by spray and pray the board and try to go, okay, I want to play Baylor TCU, or I want Georgia Tech Duke game stacks, right? So let's just say I'm going to go heavy on these game stacks. Let's say these two games I want to play. Well, now my ancillary pieces that I'm going to pair with those game stacks, I need to limit. So in essence, in this situation, the core plays are going to be the guys that I'm typically going to take 60% of my shots on. I don't want to have one team that has the Baylor TCU game stack and then has, all right, I want to get 20% Bryson Washington, and then I'm spreading my exposures across the board. I'm going to try to jam Bryson Washington. Like last week, it killed me. Fully admit, it killed me by doing it because I had so much Justice Haynes. And when Justice Haynes got hurt, it absolutely destroyed my teams that were really good because I had a good amount of Abu Sama, and I had some Bo Jackson, and I had some Jeremiah Love, and then I basically played 4 running backs. But Justice Haynes was the highest owned of the group. So by and large, that hurts. Now, the week before, Adam Randall was the highest owned of the group. Adam Randall dominated. So I ended up being able to get a ton of, equity there. So if you pick right and you get the right guy and you pair him, and Nate Shepard, I had a lot of that Nate Shepard at 5,700 against Syracuse. That worked out great. So like if you can hit that and then mix your game stacks in there, that's how you're going to win. You're not going to win by going, all right, I need to spread evenly 10 running backs across 20 teams. That's just too difficult to hit. But Bryson Washington is going to be one of those guys as long as he's healthy at 8,200. 11.2 is an absolutely absurd price to pay for Eric McAllister. That is a price reserved for the likes of Jeremiah Smith, not Eric McAllister. Now, I will say he has paid off with 2 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, and 3 touchdowns in those 3 games. And then he missed a game in between. He missed an entire game in there where he played like 6 snaps. So it should be a 0 in there. So that's kind of messing up his numbers. Now, what I'm going to say is in this Colorado game, there was a touchdown for like 30 yards on 4th and 3 on like the last play of the game to make it a 14-point game that made this number look better. In this game, there was an 85-yard touchdown and then another touchdown in uber garbage time in like the last 4 minutes of the game that made this number look good. I'm not buying this. This has been fluky. I bought the hell out of this at 5,600. I did because I played the crap out of him that week and I got it right. This right here has been fluky. So you pay 11.2 for McAllister. I get it. And I will in game stacks. But that's not a core play. That's not a guy that I'm willing to just go and shell out 11.2 on. That's too much. I like Josh Cameron personally at 8,200. I think you can very easily see him get into the 20s. He's a guy that I will buy into. He's the top stack partner for me with Sawyer Robertson. And a guy that I know multiple times per year over the last couple years has popped off for these 9 for 151 and 2 spots. I'm going to buy into that. Now we got to remember, look at this. I just want to harken back. Remember we talked about SMU yesterday. I have routinely picked on SMU and I just realized it. So if we look at something, last year's ACC title game started this run, right? I picked Bryant Wesco's breakout game. It was against SMU. He went like similar line, 9 for 151 and 2. Won a lot of money. Week 2, everybody said, man, Josh Cameron, terrible. He got 2 for 54. I said, bounce back week. Let's go. 9 for 151 and 2. I called Eric McAllister breakout. It was SMU 8 for 2. So apparently, me and SMU wide receivers, why the Clemson SMU game is not on this freaking Fanduel slate, and we get Texas, Kentucky, or Cincinnati, Oklahoma State is absolutely ridiculous. But we're gonna play a lot of, I'm gonna play a lot of Bryant Wesco on DK. Apparently, me and Clemson against SMU wide receivers against SMU is a deal. Kobe Prentice, 0.0% chance I'm willing to take this shot at 7K. Sub 6K, sure. But he has 0 target volume. He's been cashing in touchdowns, and they've been on 1 or 2 targets. So I'm not going to buy that whatsoever. You need to stay away. That's a trap. On DK, sure. 33K, whatever. 3,700, sure. 7K on FanDuel, heck no. I'm not paying for that. That is a trap spot of all trap spots. Josh Cameron, though, is the top option in this Baylor pass offense for me. I'm just buying into it. Manjack is definitely the second best option in the pass offense for TCU. However, 6,300 is not a bad price tag, so I'd leave him in the pool. It's just, do you want a one-off Manjack? I don't know that you do. I will not play Jordan Dwyer at 6,200. I'd rather just pay the extra 100 for Manjack. Cole Wilson, moderate interest at 6,300. I think if you want to double stack Sawyer Robertson, Wilson's the way to do it. He has more of the equity there of the pass catching than Ashton Hawkins. He's kind of surpassed Ashton Hawkins. Now, if you got into a situation where you really wanted to pay up and do some things and you got to 5,200, I'm perfectly fine getting to Ashton Hawkins. He's going to play. He's just not an optimal play, we'll say. Ezekama, he got a good run with he got a good run in this game. He played a lot of snaps in that Arizona State game where McAllister missed or played 6 snaps. Now, the guy who's emerging in this offense that I'd be willing to take shots on. So if you go from McAllister or Manjack, I think Ed Small is interesting. He had 13 targets last week against Kansas State, and he's a freshman, but he's really come on. He's getting more and more playing time each week. I would prefer to take shots on him, maybe even over Manjack and over McAllister. I think the breakout game's coming. You could argue it was last week. He just needed a touchdown. DJ Rogers, 100% in on as well. He's getting a good enough target share. If he finds the end zone, he'll pay out. So I think you're probably seeing legitimately you could definitely go Sawyer Robertson. You could full game stack this thing. You could go Sawyer Robertson. So if you were saying, hey, I want to game stack the whole game, I'm perfectly content with this and then going here. I think that's a good way to game stack this game. And then that gives you, I don't know what the pricing is. So that gives you these guys, right? So let's just say you wanted Ahmad Hardy because he's getting all that workload. Like that's a perfectly easy way to be able to just go full, this game's going nuts. So where we think it's going to score 90. All right, cool. I've got the wide receiver 3/4 and the tight end here. And I think Ed Small's coming on. I think he's passing some guys, and they're changing their wide receiver rotations to fit him in more. And there's plenty of pass for that to pay out. And there's always pass for these two in Robertson and Washington to play together. So I'll have some of that. Not the spoiler myself on some of that stuff. All right, Washington at Michigan, 50.5 over under, 28 points for Michigan, 22.5 Washington. Damon Williams is always in play at 10-4. Damon Williams does not get credit enough for how good of a passer he is. The man threw for 400 yards and ran for 136 last week. Now, granted, it's against Rutgers, and Rutgers is terrible on defense. They are the fantasy carnival this year. That is a term that I've used previously. Shout out Al Smizzle. He used to use it for NFL content. We used it for USC previously. We've used it for Virginia. It basically means they put up points and they give them up in bunches. And they're a fun team to be able to play players against. That's Rutgers. So he's got wheels. He runs. It's got a great baseline. I think Damon Williams is a fabulous play. Michigan got absolutely torched by USC on the ground last week, which I think brings in another guy I'm interested to see his price on. Damon Williams does not get enough credit for his passing, though. His accuracy is insane. He does not, look at the completions in this. Yes, they got dominated by Ohio State. He still went 18 of 19 with a 10 yards per completion average. The guy just flat out completes passes. It's impressive, man. I think Damon Williams in the long run is a fabulous player. I can't play Bryce Underwood. I just can't. I think he's going to have more put on his plate each week. He is a dumpster dive shot, but he's going to need his rushing capability, and they've proven that they kind of don't want to use it as much. So Jonah Coleman's probably a little bit more than I would like. He's got good pass volume. He's going to get all the touches at the running back position. I think Michigan's too tough of a matchup on the road. I think you see more of an Ohio State-esque line. He needs to find the end zone just to get to 17. That's not going to get it done at 10-2. I'm probably out a little bit there. Justice Haynes, I would love, and he'll be in the pool at 10K if he plays. They say undisclosed. It was very clearly a rib injury. He fell down, landed awkwardly, and he was pointing to his ribs. He kept playing after that. I thought he would be able to come back. You would hoped they would have gone in the locker room, shot a needle in that sucker, put an extra pad on the ribs, and he plays. I think he ends up playing this week. There's a lot of people that don't know how those things work. That's a rib injury. It's a strained intercostal, I'm sure, or a rib, maybe that's why they were taking him to the locker room to take x-rays to see if it was a broken rib or not. Maybe it was a broken rib, but they said he could come back. He never did. If he's out, Jordan Marshall is in play. I would not love Jordan Marshall. He's not Justice Haynes. He's not explosive, but he's going to get a lot of work. So 14 carries, 1 catch. He's going to get you a decent yards per carry average, but he's not breaking big runs. The 1 carry for 75 yards and a touchdown that Haynes gives you the upside of, Marshall does not provide. It's just not his thing. He's more of a grounded pound, 6 yards, 4 yards. He just chews you up down the field. All right. Denzel Boston is a monster, good player. I think you can get there at 9,700. It is expensive. I'd love him at more at about 89 or so, but we'll see on that one. I think that's in play, but not a priority. Desmond Roebuck has started operating as the number 2 in this offense. Also, don't mind, but would rather him be in the 5s. The only option I'm willing to play on the Michigan side is Andrew Marsh. So this kid is a stud. I like this kid. I watched this USC game. I know it was on Peacock. Very few people watched it. I watched the whole game. I had it on the main TV and then had other games on the other monitors. I thought he played extremely well. I have not been that impressed by a Michigan wide receiver in 5+ years. I mean, it's been a long time. This kid looks good. He looks like the real deal. He's going to build a very good relationship with Underwood. I think they keep adding to the receiving core, and he's going to end up being a centerpiece in that room. I think we continue to see. I think this Washington defense is banged up enough. We're getting double digits, in my opinion. I would buy into this if I'm going to stack up Damon Williams and anybody, or just play Damon Williams by himself. I would play Andrew Marsh with him personally, because I think that they're going to play well together. LSU takes on Vanderbilt, 49.5 in this one. 26 points for Vanderbilt, 23.5 LSU. I do think LSU turned the corner last week. Nussmeier played much better. The run game looked better against South Carolina. I don't know that Vanderbilt's much different than South Carolina. I don't think Pavia is going to be able to run away from Harold Perkins, much the way that Norris Sellers was not able to. I think LSU probably should be favored in this one by 1.5. But that's personal opinion. That price is right on Nussmeier at 78. There is definitely the possibility that he can get you decent numbers, but I don't know that he's any different than Underwood, and Underwood has the rushing upside that Nussmeier does not possess. Like, his best case scenario 19. So I don't think that wins you anything. I don't think it gets you anywhere. I'm probably out on Nuss. I'm out on Pavia for sure. I just think there's going to be too many negative plays in this one for him. Cedric Alexander does not tote the rock enough. Defense too difficult. Not in 8,300. Caden Durham played much better this week. I still don't think I would buy into it at 73. I think you're going to end up with a lot better plays than Caden Durham. Wide receiver-wise, it's a nightmare. If I was going to play anybody in this game, it's Trey'Dez Green at 6,500. Got absolutely peppered with targets last week. Obviously an end zone threat, so we don't need the targets. But if we get the open field targets, it just adds to what we're going to get, and because it's really only going to take a touchdown for us to get there and be okay with where we're at. We'll need to keep an eye on Aaron Anderson. Kyle Parker kind of played in his place, but I wouldn't go him over Trey'Dez. Where is Xavier Thomas at 51 is moderately interesting. But like I would, Stowers is a good player, but there's just too many good defenders on that LSU defense. I think I would stay away from Vandy. It's not worth it. I probably stay away from everybody on LSU's side except for Trey'Dez Green, but that's only a maybe. There's just other guys I would prefer overall. Oklahoma goes to South Carolina, 43.5 over under, just a Big Ten score line. 24 points for Oklahoma, 19.5 South Carolina. You can't play Lenore Sellers even at 7,500. Defense is too good for Oklahoma. They're going to contain him. Very similar defense to LSU. I said it coming into the year. I'm going to keep saying it. Sellers does not have any help. He has one game with more than 25 yards of rushing. He just doesn't have anything around him. The kid doesn't have anything around him. He's a great player, very good player. It's just, look at the completion percentages in here. Like, it's just, there's nothing there, man. Sellers got to get out of there. Mateer at 98. That's probably a tad pricey. He would be a good GPP play because everybody's going to kind of be off knowing that he wasn't playing very well. I think South Carolina's defense is not particularly great. Maybe I take a shot or two just to cover myself in case, but I think he could be an option there. Torrey Blaylock, I will have some moderate interest in at 66. He continues to get double-digit carries. LSU's run game seemed to come to life against South Carolina. If you've got a banged-up Mateer, does Oklahoma try to run the football more? They were never going to run the football in Texas. They were never going to run the football in Auburn. I think you get more rush capability against some other teams, and I think that could show up. Matt Fuller seems to have taken over a little bit more of an explosive role in this offense, but it was one long carry against LSU. I'm not interested at all in any of the South Carolina running backs. Only Blaylock would be of moderate interest if I need to save money at 6,600. Satania, I love on DK. I hate his price here. He's definitely the best option, though. I would not play him. I wouldn't play any of the South Carolina wide receivers. They are a crapshoot and not very good, particular. Nick Harbor, still a track star. Still can't catch. No worries there. Didn't learn anything. People hype people up off season. Burks, man, I was really having decent hopes, especially coming off that Michigan game. 6,100 is a great price on him. I just don't think I can do it. Kanik, he had a bad game last week. He was really coming off to a good start to start the year, but just has fallen off now that Mateer's been banged up. Ole Miss taking on Georgia. I think this one has sneaky shootout potential. 55.5, 31 Georgia, 24.5 Ole Miss. And this will be a pivotal point in the day. 10-2 on Chambliss, not nearly as reckless of a pricing as DraftKings has. I thought Chambliss played okay last week. He did not play great. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying he played okay. And he still put up 23 fantasy points. He got there. He got there. He got to the same numbers, like fantasy point wise, because of touchdowns compared to the LSU game. I don't think he gets a 30-point game here, but I think mid-20s, low 20s is in there. I have no issues playing Chambliss with the rushing upside that he has. He has great floor. Ceiling's there, floor's there. No problems with him. Gunnar Stockton has not been playing well. Ceiling's there. I just don't know what the floor is. So I don't know that I want to get to Gunnar Stockton. I don't know. That one I'm going to have to consider. I'm not the biggest Stockton guy. And it reminds me of Nate Diaz and Joe. All I can hear every single time they say Stockton is literally, I'm not going to say it because of what it is comes after it, but you'll know, is Joe Rogan doing his Nick Diaz thing when he goes Stockton. And it makes me laugh every single time I hear it. Cannot play a Georgia running back. They are cheap, but they rotate in a ton. Can't play Keywan Lacey at 9,400. It's just too much. He's going to get a ton of work. I just don't know that there's any ceiling. I think his hard ceiling in this game is 20 points. I don't think you're getting 100 yards. I think you're getting something in the 60 to 80 yard range, and you're really praying he gets 2 touchdowns if that's the case. That's a tough one to swallow at that point. I don't know if the upside's there. I think the floor is there. I don't think the upside's there. Uh Daquan Wright has been playing pretty good. I just don't think you could buy into that. The floor's too low. The ceiling's not that high. Deuce Alexander, no thank you. Zach Branch, I have moderate interest in just because he could take any touch to the house. He has not done it yet. He has not shown that explosive capability. I think you maybe leave him in your. He's if you play Gunnar Stockton, I'd prefer. Ooh, I might prefer Colby Young at 5,500. Save the 1,300. This is a situation where I prefer Colby Young in this spot to him. So I think Zach Branch is out of my pool. I'd play Colby Young at 55 a lot more. Harrison Wallace has been trash. He is trash. I'd rather play Caden Lee. Caden Lee's coming on strong. He's finally starting to get it going here. I'm going to prefer to play Caden Lee. His floor's gotten there. His ceiling's getting there. So I will play Caden Lee at 5,900. If I'm game stacking this game, I will have Caden Lee, Colby Young, and both quarterbacks because both quarterbacks can run, and I prefer those two as the top wide receiver options in this game. I will be game stacking that game. Texas A&M at Arkansas. It's bow season. Remember that. Nobody's going to be there for the Hogs. 62.5 in this one. It will shoot out because Arkansas has no defense. 35 points for A&M, 27.5 Arkansas. I think you got to be in play for all of the pieces in this game. Taylon Green at 11K. He's got great rushing upside. Has played pretty well. I don't think I prefer him to many of the other guys. It's just in game stacks, you have to play him. Marcel Reed in play. Also, not the biggest fan of Marcel Reed. I just think he has not the ceiling that I'm looking for, but I will play him in game stacks potentially or probably. Le'Veon Moss is out. Ruben Owens got the price bump on Fanduel. So on DK, we're kind of locking him in. On Fanduel, I think he's in play, but not as locked in. Awesome, David. Awesome. You got the pieces together. You didn't end up with Justice Haynes overexposure like I did, where I had an injury issue, David. I had just an injury problem. I had a top 50. I explained this the other day. I was talking about it on the DK show. I had a top 50 team on DK in the night slate. And literally, I had Jacoby Williams and Justice Haynes, who both got hurt before halftime. And I finished 20 points out of first. So I had the freaking nuts. I just couldn't. I just got killed by injuries. It's kind of been there. Yeah, we talked about Micah Danzy, Makai Danzy or whatever, because the other guy, and it just so happened that the guy asked about he asked about the other wide receiver. I was like, no, you got to go with Danzy. You can't go with that guy. We just got lucky. Just got lucky on that one. I played the starting tight end for Kansas, and he ended up with 12 catches for 79 yards and a touchdown or something, which was ridiculous. That was insane at 3,100. Ruben Owens here for A&M, though. I think, what's up, Jay Whitty? I think Ruben Owens is going to end up being a pivotal piece on DK. He's going to be owned as crap, but he's going to end up getting so much volume that it's going to be impossible to not go here. 8,400, I prefer Bryson Washington on Baylor. I think it's going to be interesting to see the other pricing, where else we can go at running back. Mario Craver still priced up at 10K. Very hard price to swallow, but he is a walking big play. He's just got to get there. That's tough. I think you're going to have to be in on some of these wide receivers this week. Concepcion, I'm probably more in on than Craver for the price savings, but I like both of them. I'm willing to take shots on both. Now, compared to DK, I was not willing to touch Omega Blake. I might be willing to touch Omega Blake here at 8,100. Price is reasonable. He's going to get a ton of volume. I just wish he would find the end zone a little bit more and hit on some of these shot plays. If he does, big wins there. Raylan Sharp, probably my second favorite option in the pass attack for Arkansas. 5,300, not bad. They're tough to predict, man. Like it jumps all around between Platt and Shanks, Jones, Sharp as like who gets the second most targets and who ends up with touchdowns. It's tough to predict for Arkansas. If you can get that right, it ends up being a big deal. The game that I wish wasn't on here, I wish it was Clemson, SMU, Ohio State, and taking on Wisconsin in a snooze fest. I will say my prediction that Wisconsin is going to need a new coach by Thanksgiving, and that their total win total should be 3. Is looking pretty good at this point. I think they're going to end up with 2 wins potentially. 41.5 in this game, 34.5 Ohio State, 7-point projection for Wisconsin. The under probably hits. All right, now we're starting to get to a point. Ignore all Wisconsin people. This is very simple. We're starting to get to a point where Julian Sayin starts to get in play. He's not going to run whatsoever. If Julian Sayin gets down to 8K or under, I'm probably interested because of the 326-3 option. And if I can get 25 points at 8,800, I'm okay with it. I don't love it. The upside's not there. This is an all floor type deal. And if you're going down there, then I could see it. Bo Jackson, I'm out on Donaldson, out on Peoples. If I'm taking shots, I'm taking shots on Bo Jackson at 7,500. He scored last week. He's getting carries. I think we got options that 100 yards and multiple touchdowns is coming. The issue with Bo Jackson is very clearly CJ Donaldson's going to come in and run around the goal line. So they just thump him around the goal line. He's not going to run for 100 yards. You have to hit touchdowns for him to be able to get there. Otherwise, he is a piece of dead weight on your lineup. I refuse to play Donaldson. I would rather play the upside of Bo Jackson. I'm not going to win tournaments with Donaldson. I will with Bo Jackson. All right. Jeremiah Smith is priced under Eric McAllister. I would rather play Jeremiah Smith. The floor's there. The ceiling's there. He can easily go 9 for 153 and 1 or 2. Get you 33 points. I prefer that. I don't want to play Carnell Tate anywhere near Jeremiah Smith. I'd rather play Jeremiah Smith. Personally, they're going to feed Jeremiah. I think 2 touchdowns are on the books this week. I think Bo Jackson and Jeremiah Smith are my top 2 plays in this offense. I really want Max Clare to be a thing. He just can't seem to score. They seem to just give it to a very concentrated set of players. So if they get around, Jeremiah's touchdown last week, that number was almost terrible. He scored that touchdown. It was the last score that they scored. So they are finding ways to give him touchdowns late in games. I think you see Jeremiah is still a strong play. He might not have the overall ceiling that a McAllister could have, because McAllister could go for 200 and multiple scores. But the floor is very clearly on Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith just is almost a lock for 8 for 81 and 1 for the most part. That's what kind of feels like his floor. Granted, he was below that floor last week, but they made sure to get him a touchdown. So you kind of have guaranteed production there. All right. Texas Tech takes on Arizona State, 48.5 in this one, 29.5 point projection for Texas Tech, 19 on Arizona State. Sam Levitt is banged up at 9K. I think they were probably trying to keep him healthy last week in order to be ready to go, knowing that they were probably in trouble at Utah and the weather was terrible. Maybe they can muck it up with Jeff Sims running the football, and then Levitt comes back for this pivotal Texas Tech game. It's not going to matter. They're losing to Texas Tech. I think Bayron Morton's going to be back this week. Pretty certain that he will play. There's no guarantees that he is healthy. I'm probably staying away from both quarterbacks in this one. If Will Hammond was to start, I would have some interest, especially if Morton's out. Hammond is a very good runner, so I would have a ton of interest in him at 8,600. I do not want to mess with this Texas Tech defense personally. Cameron Dickey Mm, he looked great last week. Let's be honest. And he's a thumper. He's gonna score touchdowns. I feel like Cameron Dickey's one of those guys that's a blind spot for me, and I need to get there more. I prefer a player like Jacoby Williams. Now, he didn't play the second half last week. He was banged up coming into the week, allegedly. He wasn't on the injury report, but allegedly he was banged up. That's why he didn't play. I have some Texas Tech uh, insiders, we'll call them, that give me some information. So I'm going to wait and see what they have to say. Um, yeah, we'll see. I need to see it to kind of know what I'm gonna do here. If I find out he's full go, 7,800 is far too cheap for the explosiveness that he provides, and I do not mind picking on this Arizona State rush defense, which absolutely got roasted by Utah last week, even though it was in the rain, and we know Utah can't throw the football. Raleek Brown, I'm not going to play, not against this defense. I know he played well last week. He's played pretty good, getting most of the work volume. I just don't trust him, and I'm out. I would play Dickey. I would play Williams. I think both are reasonable. If Morton's out, I'll play Hammond. Otherwise, I'm kind of staying away there. Tyson, I will tell you that rushing touchdown hurt my soul last week. I had a lot of Hawaii game stacks late in that one, and that extra touchdown just gave him enough points to make him annoying. I'm a big fan of Jordan Tyson. Big fan. I play him almost weekly because he's going to get all of the targets. Do I want to pay 9,500 in this spot? I don't know. I don't want to really pay 7,500 for Caleb Douglas. I love Caleb Douglas when he's 5,500 or 6K in that range. I would rather pay down at this point. I always like playing the cheapest Texas Tech wide receiver. I probably honestly don't like the pricing on any of these Texas Tech wideouts. Eakin, the ball's going to bounce back his way this week. I bet Eakin has a good game. If I was going to play one, I'd play Coy Eakin at 6,700. But I think I'd rather play Terrence Carter at 5,700 because I think his touchdown equity is there and he has some upside for volume. I'll play Carter at 5,700. I just prefer to pay down for Texas Tech players. And if I was going to play wide receivers, I'm going to play a pass catcher as it's Terrence Carter. Maybe I play some Dickey just to cover my butt, and then but I do like Jacoby Williams' price here for sure. I'm probably going to end up with more Dickey on DraftKings. I actually did like his interview last night. I saw on TV. Excuse me. See, I'm probably going to play Dickey at 7,700. I mean, it's still like Jacoby Williams' price at 5,200 on DK. Golly, I'm going to get burned by this. I already know I am. It's going to be my blind spot all year long. It's going to be Cameron Dickey because I like Jacoby Williams more. All right, the game that I dread being on this slate, similar to Ohio State, Wisconsin. Also, why can't I get FAU South Florida? Like, that's a great game too. But instead, I get this dumpster fire. Texas heads to Kentucky off of Red River, 42.5. Absolute nauseating total. 27.5 points for Texas, 15 Kentucky. Just ignore that Kentucky's not even exist on this slate, similar to Wisconsin. Those teams do not exist. Oklahoma State also kind of don't exist. I don't know that there is a quarterback on Kentucky, so we will ignore that price tag. There's a price there for a reason. Arch Manning, 9,300. I gotta think you keep him in your pool. He's running. He played fairly decent last week. Not great, but better than he has. He played fairly decent, got decent numbers, we'll say, against Florida. I think at 9,300, you could keep him in the pool because of the rushing upside. I think Arch is a guy that's worth taking shots on this week. I think he's worth taking shots on. Jarrett Gibson officially announced left the program uh, this past week. I wonder if Baxter is back. If Baxter's back, I'm interested. Um, like no interest. Don't even bother. Wisner, I 100% have interest in. 22 carries, 94 yards, 5 catches. I have a ton of interest in Wisner, specifically uh, if Baxter's out. 8,600 on Wisner. It seems like the 8K range is where we're going to live for our running backs this week, which is kind of nice because then we don't have to pay 10 plus K for them. So I actually do have interest there. Wingo, no thank you. I don't trust it. Doesn't matter what he does. I don't care. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I don't love Livingstone anymore. I liked him early in the season, nailed it on Ohio State, nailed it San Jose State. I'm out at 6K. I think Mosley's eating into his target share and playing time. So I'm out there. If I was going to play any Texas wide receiver, it would be DeAndre Moore. He's getting more targets. He's kind of getting open deeper. He plays more than Livingstone. I would say I'm playing, if I play Arch, I'm playing him with DeAndre Moore. I might. I can't do it. Never mind. Can't do it. I like injuries, but they just don't throw to him. So it'd be more. If I was pairing Arch, if I was playing a Texas, if I'm playing Texas, I'm probably going to play Onslaught Texas. So I would play this because Wisner has such a good receiving role. I think Arch runs in a couple. Arch throws a touchdown to Wisner, throws a touchdown to Moore. You get there with that. I don't mind that whatsoever. That will be something that I end up on for sure as a few sets of that. Another game that can shoot out. Tennessee goes to Alabama, 58.5 in this one. Tennessee, a terrible defense. 33.5 point projection on Alabama, 25 points for Tennessee. I think Tennessee ends up scoring more than that. It just feels like it. I'm not going to play Joey Aguilar. This is not a game to play Joey Aguilar. I know he, absolutely pasted Georgia. No shot. I cannot buy into that. I think he probably goes for 20. I just don't think he has the upside to beat you. Simpson, I do think has the upside. I would play a lot more Ty Simpson. This is a spot where he should be able to score upper 20s to low 30s with some rushing ability. I would buy the Ty Simpson train here at 10-8 for sure. I'm still not a Jam Miller guy, so I'm not going to play him. Now, this is interesting. They're listing Deshaun Bishop as probable. I would not buy that. Well, I don't buy that he's probable. They can say what they want. That was a ankle sprain. He got rolled up on. There's a fine line when you see the way that occurred, because I saw that live. There's a very fine line between high ankle sprain and low ankle could return this week. That was an ankle, and it got rolled up on. It was a hip drop on it. He did not come back in that game after it happening in the third quarter. It's not like that game was out of reach. I got a sneaking suspicion he ends up missing this game. Now, that's not to say that they're lying in this spot. They might be, might not be. Maybe it's a low ankle sprain. Maybe they play. Maybe he plays. I don't think Deshaun Bishop plays in this game. Just based off of the injury and what I saw, it was very similar to the CD Lamb play where Lamb couldn't come back. I think Bishop ends up missing this game. That's just my personal opinion. I have zero other information. I'm surprised that he's listed as probable, not questionable, personally. I think we just need to keep an eye on that. That's just where I'm at. All right, Jam Miller with a concussion. I think Jam Miller probably ends up missing. I didn't realize it was a concussion. So Kevin Riley probably ends up being the top back. I would prefer to play through the pass game for my money. He's going to catch the ball a little bit. I'm just not all that interested, even if he has a good amount of carries. Now, if Bishop's out, I think Star Thomas makes for an interesting play. He's more of a volume guy, not explosive whatsoever. Somebody tried to call him explosive earlier in the year. I don't think he is. I like Peyton. Man, I prefer Peyton Lewis from the explosive standpoint. Do I love either back against Alabama? Not really. I think you keep both in the pool. I'll make a decision on that later in the week. Honestly, all three of these guys right here are moderately interesting given the price tags. I think it's an 8K, 6K week. I don't think Bishop plays. I think it's unlikely Jam Miller plays because of the concussion. I think they're sandbagging that injury, and that ends up being different. Brazel, you're gonna have to keep him in the pool he just has so much upside. I don't love it, but I think keep him in the pool. Ryan Williams, I am 0.0% chance playing this guy. So they're saying he wasn't 100% healthy. Bull. I call BS on that. He's healthy. He's just got the drops and he's getting soft benched because he's not playing well. I think the Boar is like, what the heck are you doing, buddy? You can't keep dropping passes. I'm out. I'm not playing any Bernard, any Williams. I'll play Bernard. I've been saying it all year. In fairness to me, I've been on the Bernard's as good, or if not better, than Ryan Williams. Everybody sucked down on Ryan Williams last year. I'm out. Horton, Horton, here's a who I will be in on. If I'm double stacking, it's Bernard Horton. No problems there. I probably would say I want Brazel the most. Maybe Staley. I don't know. They spread it, man. They spread it around. That's an interesting one. Rico Scott plays a little bit. I would say, what was that other kid? Yeah, Lotzier Brooks. Moderate interest here. But I would prefer Horton and Bernard. They're every down players here. So I will have interest though in that game and game stacking it. If I do game stack it, it's going to be Simpson with the two wide receivers. Bring it back with probably Peyton Lewis and Chris Brazel would be my guess as a game stack there. All right. USC taking on Notre Dame. This is the Jaden Maeva Heisman game. Personally, if he shows up in this one, I mean, he dominated this Notre Dame team last year. Just threw 2 pick sixes, but he threw for a ton of yards. 61.5 in this one. Will be tons of game stacks on this thing. 35.5 point team total on Notre Dame. 26 for USC. Personally, think USC covers that or gets all the way up there. 10-7 on Maeva. Don't mind that price. He is mobile. And remember, his running back core is gone. There are no running backs. So it's going to be Huck, Chuck, and C on this one. I like Maeva in this game a lot. I think we see a 30-yard rushing performance. I think he throws for 3 bills easily in this one. 20-point floor is my opinion. Love Maeva in this spot. But I am a Maeva truther. I don't mind CJ Carr facing off with this team. This USC defense is solid, though. He just has not run the football at all. I'd rather play Maeva. I think he's in play if you think Notre Dame does that, some big stuff. I just think they end up trying to run the football in this one. Jeremiah Love at 12-2. Golly, that's so much. I think in game stacks he's in play, but that's it. I don't think he's a core play. And I'm not in on Jadarian Price. King Miller is priced way up at 7,600. He's the guy you got to feel most confident in getting carries in this thing. I would prefer to play it through Maeva. Wayman Jordan's out for a few weeks. He didn't put any pressure on that ankle. Brian Jackson was listed as out and ended up suiting up. Now, they ended up charging them $5,000 because they played a player who was announced as out. That seems worth it. I think his workload was lower because of that. I liked Brian Jackson coming into the year. I wonder if Brian Jackson ends up getting more work than everybody expects. Uh, 6,300 fair price tag. I don't mind the King Miller price tag at 7,600. I think both are in play. They're not core plays necessarily, but they're in play. Mekhi Lemon is going to be the top target. You're going to want plenty of exposure to Mekhi Lemon. Do I prefer him to Jeremiah Smith and Eric McAllister? Yes. I think he's the top wide receiver play on the slate overall. So yeah, that's where I would lean into is I lean Mekhi Lemon as my top wide receiver in the the north of 10K range of what we've seen. Faison is more of a PPR merchant. I'm out. His touchdown equity is not good. 7,800. No, thank you. I know Will Pauling had a good week last week. Caught a touchdown in 3 straight. I'm still more of the Malachi Fields truther. I would still buy Fields personally at 6,500. I think he matches up better. This is a big game. I think we see Fields be a good option. I like Jacoby Lane as well. He caught his touchdown last week, 7,100 fair price on him. He does have very much so have multiple TD upside. So I like Jacoby Lane in this spot. Personally, Lake McCree would probably be the third option that I'd be willing to go to. If you want an off the board TD play, I would go McCree. If you needed a last piece in a game stack, I think McCree at 5,500 is a reasonable play there. All right, let's look at Missouri taking on Auburn. 43.5 total. Ooh. 22.5 for Missouri, 21 for Auburn. It's an interesting game. I think Pribula's in play for sure. He has the rushing upside. He can throw the ball a little bit. Kevin Coleman did get banged up, kept going in and out of the game last week. I don't think he's in Drew Aller territory of passing, but he does have some rushing upside. I think you keep Pribula in the pool. Jackson Arnold. I'd rather buy Pribula than Arnold right now, just because I trust Eli Drinkwitz more than I trust anybody else. That's an interesting one. Didn't Damari Alston leave? Isn't he gone? Yeah, so Damari Alston is gone from the program. It's the Jeremiah Cobb show. I don't like it. Missouri's really good at stopping the run. Hardy is my favorite back, probably my favorite play in this game. He can just get volume, even against a reasonably decent Auburn run defense. I do like Hardy in this spot. Coleman, as I mentioned, kept going in and out of this game. He was banged up. I don't particularly want to play him even at 7,400. He's more of a PPR guy. Cam Coleman at 6K. I'm going to keep playing him. He's going to, the spam button's going to work eventually. So I'm going to keep playing Cam Coleman at 6K. He's probably the only guy in this game that I really like. Maybe my game stack would be Coleman and Hardy. I don't know that this is a game stackable game. Singleton's a fine option at 5,800. It's just, can he score touchdowns? I think they're looking for Coleman here. Norfleet, I just happened to get lucky that he caught a touchdown last week. It's touchdown or bust on Norfleet. That's kind of where he lives. On the wide receiver side, I think Marquise Johnson could be a interesting last piece in type guy. He's on the field a good bit. So I would say he's an interesting last piece in guy, especially if Kevin Coleman is out. Woo! Last game on the slate is an interesting one. Cincinnati takes on Oklahoma State. 39.5 for Cincinnati, 18 for Oklahoma State. Healthy total at 57.5. What is the price? I mean, we're not playing Oklahoma State quarterback. We learned that already. And I don't care. We're not playing an Oklahoma State wide receiver who plays quarterback because he sucks. There's a reason. Brendan Sorsby has to be in play, has to be up there with one of the best plays on the slate. His floor is amazing. His ceiling is amazing. I think Sorsby's in play. He's right there with Haynes King as the top raw points play on the slate for me. He's better than the Baylor TCU guys. Yeah, I'd say he's number 2. If I was ranking them, it'd be Haynes King 1. If you just said in a vacuum, you can play any quarterback you want on this slate, it's Haynes King 1, it's Sorsby 2, because they are very similar in output. Tyree Walker has just absolutely struggled on the ground lately. He's always live to score a couple touchdowns. I would prefer Evan Pryor. He's just been more explosive. Granted, both kind of were stinky against UCF. Y'all just had a viewpoint into the way that my mouth normally works, but I just didn't do it. I've been trying. Rodney Fields, good out of the backfield, good catching passes, pretty explosive. I think there's better options in that 6K range. If I was going in, nope, this guy popped off for that one game and that's it. So I'm out there. Yeah, I'm not even gonna bother to talk about them. There's too many other good guys in there. Cyrus Allen has not been particularly good lately. I think you keep him in the pool, but I doubt I end up there. I would prefer to go to Caleb Goody, who I think gets reasonable target share. Last week, it was Jeff Caldwell, who ended up popping off for 2 touchdowns. I think you mix and match Caldwell or Goody. I personally think you don't need to play anybody, though. Joe Royer, also always capable. I would play none of the above. Realistically, my favorite play is to play just Sorsby, and that's the only guy I want to play from this game. Sam Jackson, stop it with all your nonsense, people. Stop it. I scored more fantasy points than Sam Jackson, and everybody wanted to play him last week. So, yeah, I scored more fantasy points. Stop with Sam Jackson nonsense. He's not good. That was as good of a matchup as you were ever going to get, is that Houston game. It's not a thing. We're not playing it. So that's an end of that. I will be back tomorrow with the DraftKings player pool stuff. I actually have it mostly or probably almost all the way done. I need to look into one other guy that I have that's fairly cheap that I have interest in. And I'm trying to narrow that down, and then I'll go over my game stacks and everything. And then I'm going to run projections now. I was going to run them last night for Fanduel, but I ended up deciding not to run the projections because I didn't want to spoiler the prices for myself. So that's how I just enjoy the first look at things, because then you get my raw thoughts of where I would go, and I could be completely changed by the time I get to the end of it. So I will be back tomorrow discussing at 9 a.m. Central, discussing the DK player pool. And reminder, I will not be live Friday at 9 a.m. I got a bunch of guys coming from out of state that I'm playing golf with that morning. I will be live in the evening. I will set it up and have something ready to go. And then we'll be back on our normal schedule for Saturday. So exciting times for me because I'll get to build my teams on Friday night and have a little more leeway. But I will see you guys tomorrow, talking some DK, trying to get our lineups put together. Good luck in the games tonight. Some decent action with Delaware taking on Jacksonville State. I kind of like